Good morning. Great Wednesday morning to you. I am Dr. Lisa Wicker, your host for today's Inside Career Success Show. I am, as always, excited that you are here with me. You have chosen to join me today as I talk to another fabulous career woman in the marketplace. And I'm ecstatic about our conversation today. As you know, this show is about high performance profile women, women who lift one another up, women who celebrate each other, women who are in the marketplace compelling themselves to do the business of business. And so today is like all other Wednesdays. We are about to have real talk, real conversation with one of our honorees from the 2025 National Women's History Leadership Awards program. Before I introduce her, I always like to give you the backdrop story of Career Mastered, which was conceptually created in 2014 with our first awards program in 2015. And then in 2018, we established the Career Mastered magazine, which launched in New York, Charlotte, and Detroit. And since that time, the magazine has gone digitally and print format globally. We have an opportunity to tell her story, tell you all about how she has been successful, what it took, the advice, the ins and outs of struggle, triumph, and challenges. And so that's why I love the opportunity that we have here on this platform live every Wednesday to talk to a woman that is absolutely proving and demonstrating what leadership looks like. We also want to share with you, as I always do, what's going on at Career Mastered. And so let me just take a second, if I can, to give you the cover of the Career Master for the spring. It is Talia Fox. Talia Fox is the CEO of Kusai Training, and she's out of the Washington, D.C. area. I had a chance to talk with her at the Career Mastered Inside Success show about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so you can get that clip and the replay of that on YouTube from Career Mastered. And so, if you have not picked up the spring issue, you can also go to www.careermaster.com to pick up that copy today, either digitally or in print. And then, as we have continued to what I call move forward inside of advancing women's leadership, we will begin the Career Master Brunch with the Master series, which we have done in the past, but we have expanded it to several cities and can bring it to a city near you should you like to become an ambassador for this particular series. In May, we will start at Charlotte at the Myers Park Country Club with the Brunch with the Masters featuring April Simpkins, as well as Marie McLucas, Sally Jaros, Jennifer Hunter Sherrill, and others as we talk about making connections. It starts with her. That is our theme for this year. And we are about helping women understand that statistically it is known that when we make connections, it can advance and grow our careers, not only from a compensation standpoint, but also from a leadership standpoint. And then in Detroit, we will have Ariva Martin, multi award winning civil rights attorney, as the guest. And I talk with her about trends in the marketplace, and we will be at the Detroit Athletic Club. I can go on and on, but we're going to get started with introducing our guests today, and then I'll come back to you after the show as we talk more about Career Mastered and why you may wish to join this leadership platform. So let me introduce, if I can, and bring her on, Tammy Martin. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
Happy Wednesday to you.
Yes, happy Wednesday to you.
I am so glad that you have chosen to meet with us today as we have a chance to get to know more about you. I've had the privilege of talking with you and adore first your personality, and secondly, I am thrilled about the work that you and your spouse, as a matter of fact, have founded. So let me introduce you to our audience today, and then we'll get right into the conversation.
Okay.
So, Tammy Martin is the Chief Program Officer and co founder of the Young Black Leadership Alliance, better known as YBLA, a nonprofit organization dedicated to developing young Black leaders through leadership, service, and education. In I guess it's 2006,
Mhm.
alongside her husband, John Martin, she co-founded this organization aimed to empower young Black women, and is it boys as well? I think, yeah, or is it all women?
Yeah,
Is
we
both.
started with young Black men. Yes.
Well, the initiative, as you said, merged with Young Black Men Leadership Alliance in 2017 to form the YBLA. Tammy's commitment to leadership is further demonstrated by her certification in nonprofit leadership from Boston College, nonprofit management school from Duke University, and career coaching from Paradigm 360 in Charlotte. Her philanthropic efforts have been recognized with awards such as Sisterhoods Award and many others, but I will say that she's also the National Career Master Diversity Impact 50 honoree. Welcome, Tammy.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I got to understand how this all happened. And you've been able to be successful in this arena for some time. But I want to start off about talking about you and mastering your career. And I do
Okay.
this with all of my guests, basically to just get a sense of, what requires people and what would they have to do? Because with detours and pivots in our careers, we always seem to navigate and are evolving, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So, can you share with us, basically, based upon that, when did
Mm.
you actually get a glimpse of your future career, the one that you are experiencing at this moment? How did you think you were going to become this person, or did you think you were going to become this person? And did you get a glimpse of this career as a girl?
Yes, very, very good question. And I think I may be a little different because my glimpse didn't come until later into my professional career. I literally know the date is December the 15th, 2015.
Wow.
And God gave me a vision. And at the time, my healthcare experience, it was about 25 years as an occupational therapist. That was my career at the time. And during that, on that day, God gave me a vision to start the Young Black Women Leadership Alliance. So at that time, my husband started YBM 10 years prior. So when we started YBM for young Black men, and basically it was always creating a new reality for young Black men. It was about what the world will perceive them as different than how
Mhm.
they perceive them now. It's typically negative when they view young Black men, but we wanted to turn it and change the reality. So we did that for 10 years, me along with probably about a dozen of our really good friends came together and we would plan things for the boys. So
Mm.
during the time, parents kept asking about the girls. And I was like, there is no way I'm as far from teenage girls as it possible because my career, my specialty was geriatrics, and I'm with the 90-year-olds, not teenagers. So, so that day, when God said, I want you to stop the excuses and I want you to start YBW because your daughter, who was a sophomore at the time, is going to need her and other girls like her, is going to need the leadership development you're pouring into boys. So that was my glimpse on that day.
Wow.
Um, it has been a journey like no other. It's been a 100% faith walk because, like I was saying, I didn't have a background in education, didn't have a background in working with children at all. My
Mhm.
background was completely clinical, it was geriatrics. So to come into this arena of nonprofit world was totally new for me. And that didn't come until I was in my 40s.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I think some of us would want to know what's a typical day like as you work in this in this industry. Take us through a day in the life of YBLA.
Yeah, that's a good question, Dr. Wicker. Now, it's interesting because being a co founder, you don't have the typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, holidays, weekends off. As
Okay.
a co founder, it's every day. And,
Mm,
and I don't say that as if that's a lot of pressure because when God gives you a divine assignment, that's what you was created to do.
right.
So John and I, we literally talk about YBLA every day.
Wow.
And I don't care where we are. I don't care if it's a holiday. I don't care if we're on vacation. We literally have to tell each other, okay, we're not going to say nothing about YBLA, at least for the next 2 hours. and just do something else. But
Oh,
we laugh about it because we always end up going right back in to what God has has ordained us to do. So
mhm,
a
mhm.
typical day for me through the week is I have meetings with my program manager. I have program coordinators. We run three different programs from the high school, the college, and the young professionals. So I meet with them. And my role is mainly to make sure the logistical things happen. I work with the program coordinator and program manager in making sure that the curriculum is executed and how I can help with making sure the space is there because we do a lot of programming, a lot of events.
Yeah.
So that's a typical day working with each one of the programs. Outside of that, John and I, we work on things like we have a gala that's coming up. So that's a big part of it. We got another big trip that we're planning for our young professionals. We're going to Ghana. So we're planning that. So we're always in planning mode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then taking some time out to figure out how we're going to spread this organization across the globe is
Yes.
always top of mind too.
Tell us about Ghana. Tell me a little bit more. Who's going and how did you come up with the, vision to do that?
Yes, God, we were very excited about that. We started our young professional end of the pipeline, I'd say 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And what we wanted to do was bring in 35 years and under, have to be a college graduate, and bring these young professionals together. We started in Charlotte, and we started it with every other month dinner type of events. Mainly, it was about networking, wealth building. We're introducing them to other of our sponsors so they can network with different people. And one thing that we found about our Yo Pros, we call them our Yo Pros, is they love being in the environment of people that look like them.
Yes.
So that's one thing that my husband and I would always find from our high schoolers all the way to our young professionals is it's so unique to be a part of YBLA because we all look alike and all headed in the same direction.
Correct.
So the Ghana trip came up because we love to travel. We have been multiple places from Dubai, South Africa. We've been to Egypt. We've been to Israel. So we love to travel because we wholeheartedly believe that travel expands the mind.
Yes.
And you have to be exposed to something before you can even dream of what it could possibly be.
It's true.
So, with this Ghana trip, we're taking our young professionals to have our global leadership forum. And that is like our leadership conference for our young professionals. Last year, we did it in LA, so it was national. So, we had always planned okay, we start the first one national, and then the next one we going international. So,
Oh,
that's where we're going for the young professionals in December, actually.
wow. That's amazing. That is absolutely great. Now I recognize that you're working with various sections and various
Mhm,
sectors of the African American community. And I know
mhm.
we didn't talk about this, but I have listeners from all walks of life. How
Yeah.
do those that may not happen to be African Americans, how can they become allies to help in this regards? To help support what it is that you're doing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Good question. Because one thing that we do, our program is to serve young Black leaders. And there's a couple of reasons there. First of all, we want the world to perceive our young Black leaders as role models, change makers, people that can make a difference and transform the world, because that's our mission. Our mission is for them to be a positive influence in the world and just bring some more light in the world. As you know, no one
Yep.
would argue that we need that.
Yes.
The one thing the biggest thing that we do that we feel is the cornerstone of who we are is service. So we always, no matter what program that you're in, whether it's a high school, it's a college or young professional, we are going to serve because we wholeheartedly believe that servant leadership is the way to transform the world. So when you ask about different people, how they can be allies,
Yes.
it's just invest in our young leaders. One
Mhm.
thing we do is we go out and we serve. There is no color bias at all when it comes to service. We serve, like I said, internationally, we serve locally, we serve different ethnic groups. We serve anybody. We even served the Hurricane Helene this
Oh
year.
yeah, Hurricane Helene.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
we all got together and we served and we took things up to North Carolina. So it doesn't make a difference of who we're serving. So we want people to look at us as like, wow, we are trying to make a difference in the world, no matter what, and for them to invest in us just for that.
Right.
Because, yeah,
Well, I tell you, you and I talked about, other conversation we're going to have today, but I have to go with where the flow is.
yeah,
Um, you know, right now with the
mhm,
current environment and the trends that are happening, there's so much change happening that
oh
the
yeah,
pace of it is really amazing. But one area in particular that is concerning to a lot of people is
hmm,
Department of Education being dismantled.
hmm,
And I guess that for me, I have grandkids, and
hmm,
certainly had thought that perhaps by the time they got to this space, we wouldn't have this conversation, but we're having it.
right, right.
And how can programs like yours fill a gap where perhaps there will become a gap should, you know, that department is dismantled? Because, I look at having come from the South and knowing that Head Start and all those programs helped get
Right.
me where I am today. And without those things, we probably wouldn't be as successful as we have become. And
Right.
so, what do you and your board and your organization and staff think about or have discussions about in terms of looking ahead? In fact,
Right.
it's not even looking ahead; it's now.
Yes, dear.
It is here. So, what do we do in those cases, and how can organizations like yours help fill the gap?
Yeah. I tell you, if it's not the time now to really open your eyes to that, it is now. The dismantling of the Department of Education is very disheartening for us because if you think about it, a lot of that national funding does go to groups like ours, or like you was talking about the groups for the people that need the help. If that
Mhm.
Since that is being jeopardized now more than ever, we really do need to support and invest in organizations like ours. So
Right.
right now, what we're doing is we're making a really big effort to really go hard at individual donorship, uh,
Mhm.
trying to educating our parents about, hey, we want to make sure that our young leaders have every advantage possible. We are working on their behalf because there's other things that's falling apart around them. So we are working hard. So really trying to get our parents, first of all, to see the impact that this is
Yeah.
making.
Yeah.
One thing that I said earlier is that we are literally the ancestors of today. If
Mhm.
it is
Say that
so,
again. Say that
we,
again.
we are the ancestors of today. When I
Yes.
think about what our ancestors way before us did, there is no way in the world that you and I would even be on this platform if it wasn't for the people that came today. I
Mhm.
really want people to understand that now is our turn. It's our
Yes.
turn. We want our grandchildren and great grandchildren to have a world that they have access to education, to all the wonderful things that we are trying to provide for them. It is really time now for us to wake up. One thing that our prayer is that YBLA, and we feel wholeheartedly that YBLA is one of those things that God just ordained to come into the world to make it a better place.
Mhm.
We're going to go global. Don't know when and don't know how, but
Right.
we are going to be global. And we know by the time I get to my grandchildren, great grandchildren, we want them to look up like we do today and said, wow, we got an opportunity to have a C-suite position.
Mhm.
At that
Mhm.
moment, it'd be a time when they are looking back saying, wow, really? They used to think as blacks as a threat. You mean that y'all had the struggle? And with all the things that happen with blacks today, we want it to be a totally different world.
Well,
So it is time now that our parents, and even outside of our parents, board, whatever out there to be able to help and invest in groups like us and other nonprofit groups that's working so hard to help the diversity.
Well, that
because
goes back to kind of what we said. Everybody may not have children.
yep,
Everybody may not be African American or Black. Everybody may not even know how to help. So the important thing is to have advocates, to have
yep,
sponsors, to have partners, to have allies, because
yes,
you can't do this wrong by yourself. Like
right,
here's the statistics that I'd like our audience, I'm sorry, to know
yeah,
that HBCUs, which is historical Black colleges and
hmm,
universities, make up only 3% of the country's colleges and universities, but enroll 10% of all African American students and produce almost 20% of all African American graduates. Okay.
hmm,
And so those numbers are discouraging, right?
yeah,
I mean, we think about many of the country's colleges have historically struggled to retain the graduate African American students, especially first generation. So if the gap is being threatened to be widened, okay, we really need to have these type of conversations
we
to
really
make
do.
people don't think it's normal, but it's
Right.
abnormal to consider what may happen like today or tomorrow, and is happening at major colleges where they're losing money and fundings, right?
Yes.
So if I were to ask you,
Mhm.
what do you think is the biggest barrier facing college access and college readiness? And because I know you work with all these
Yeah.
students, can you just name one or two or three barriers that may keep kids from college?
A big one would be money,
Okay.
scholarships, lack of access to scholarships.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a big one. We have had in our experience where some of our young people have to drop out of college because we're talking maybe have a deficit of $3,000, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
$3,000 to us was like, what?
Yeah.
Versus it could totally crumble somebody else. But having the access to scholarships, also having the access to having someone to just advise them, even
Yes.
parents. When I went to college 30 some years ago, it is so different today on
Yeah.
how our young people navigate the college journey, trying
Hmm.
to we work with our parents on how to pick the right college. There's so many times that our young people, being young, they want to go to, I always wanted to go to that school ever since I was a little girl, 5 years old. But that school is $70,000 a year, and you don't have, yeah. So is that type of things that we are doing is making sure that parents are educated on the deficit of what that could do to a young person coming out with that type
Hmm.
of. But
Hmm.
I'd say still it's the scholarships, it's just the lack of advising to
Yeah.
help people navigate and what's the best fit college. But
Wow.
one thing about the HBCUs, I know you was talking about the statistics, and they are discouraging. But in YBLA, I'd have to say, and I don't have a complete statistic, but it's over half that goes to HBCUs. So
Yeah.
they're very, very proud of that, and they love being a part of HBCUs and the culture. So it is really hot on our end every year. We're always like, okay, where are y'all going?
I love
But
it.
yeah,
I
they
love it.
really like that. Yeah.
Why don't you share, if you will, a story that stands out from your experience of a young person whose life has been transformed through
Mhm.
YBLA, through your work?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good one. I've been thinking about that, and it's actually a story I heard a few weeks ago, and it was from one of our young leaders that didn't start in our ambassador program. Our high school program is the oldest program that we have. Is our ambassador program, and this young lady, we're really good friends with her parents. So she was a baby child at the time, and we would come together and we prayed for what is now had happened.
Okay.
And she got up and she told the story of how she heard about her parents praying for us to be able to build this organization. And then years later, her sister got into it, and her sister was able to travel the world and be able to serve internationally. And she ends up getting a scholarship, full
Mm.
ride scholarship, and internship. And then she had an opportunity to join us in her college years and how that helped her. And she said that the blessing is now she's on our team.
Oh,
So she
wow.
gets out of college and we hire her. So she's part of our marketing team. So one of the things that always brings John and I joy is to see the transformation. We may not always catch it,
Yeah.
but it's little things like, wow, I've never heard that story, and how it literally transformed her life just through her parents being our good friends, her sister being part of YBLA, and now her being able to reap the benefits of YBLA. So that was one that I literally heard maybe a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying how the organization had impacted her.
That's beautiful. And that's the point. The idea is
Yeah.
not to just be busy, or to be
Right.
active, but to actually see the results of the work that when people come back and say, hey, here's how and why I made it. I mean, I think about like you,
Yeah.
places throughout career that you can pinpoint either people
Yeah.
that were pivotal in your career, or
Mhm.
organizations that you participated in. And way back when, for me, they don't even have it anymore. The 4-H club, we had to be a part of it, right? I mean, but you think about those things, and I know I'm aging myself, but I have to give
Yeah.
credit what credit is due. Without it, I wouldn't have the debate team. I wouldn't have had learned how to sew. I wouldn't have learned how to present myself, properly in the community of those people. You
Mhm.
help us, and then we turn that around and help others, right?
Right, right.
What would you offer as advice to parents regarding their college bound students that they can do to make sure that they're successful?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I would offer to parents is don't go to sleep when they get to the junior and the senior year. By the time you get your child up to that point, you kind of want them to start taking things on themselves, because they will be transferring into college. But it's so important that you jump all back in when it comes to applying for college, doing college tours, and seeing what scholarships is out there. It is very, very important that parents are in that, because so often we do see by the time they get to the senior year, it's like, what are we going to do about this? Like,
Yeah.
where will we find the money? Where are we going to get? So that is probably the biggest advice, is just making sure that you stay connected and you
Hmm.
know exactly, because that is the first biggest decision that your young person is going to make, and
Right.
it could impact them for the rest of their lives. So if you end up going to a college that you end up with debt at the back end, you could spend up until your 50s trying to pay it off.
Wow.
And you don't know what type of job return of investment you're going to get. So that would be the big advice to parents, is really just chime in and help them make. They're not going to make the smart decisions all the time, because they can't see down the road like we can.
Right.
And really, yeah, because you're just thinking, I just want to go to that school because I like light blue or whatever, is really try to help them navigate and make some tough calls, because it really impacts them at the back
Right.
end.
Right. Well, Tammy, being an entrepreneur like you are is
Mhm.
not easy. I sit here in this space as well now after having had, 38 years in corporate. I now,
Yeah,
transition to entrepreneurship. And it's not easy, even with
right.
the changes that are going on in the marketplace today, with the new orders that are being brought out, and
Yeah.
certainly being felt and impacted our business as well as other businesses. Tell us why you and your staff and organization have not given up. Like, talk success to me. How do you continue to stand up when you fall down? For other entrepreneurs that may be listening to you today, um,
Right.
how do you continue the run? Okay, because you're in the business of helping others, but who helps you, and how do you stay focused?
Yeah, yeah. Good question. Literally, to sum up that question, is literally by the grace of God. Like I
Yes.
was saying at the beginning, Dr. Wicker, there is 100% chance I would have done this. I
Yeah.
know I would not have done this. Like I said, my heart and passion was in long-term care. My specialty was with elderly. So to know that how I got in it, that's what keeps me going. It's so beyond Tammy and John Martin that this thing is uh, way bigger than us, and it's not even for us. It's
Yeah.
for the future, and
Mhm.
we understand that. So next year we'll be celebrating our 20th.
Oh,
So
wow.
as John and
Yeah.
I look at 20 years next
Mm.
year, we was able to start YBM back in 2006. And when we look at that, we're like, oh my, we got less time in front of us, and most of the time was behind us. But now it feels like a sense of urgency
Yeah.
almost. We want to make sure that whenever God does call us home, and we know we're gonna have to turn this thing over to the next
Yes.
leader.
Yes.
We just want to make sure that it goes as wide and deep as it possibly can. We
Mhm.
know for a fact that God put YBLA here to make a difference in the world. 100%. I know it. I know it. So
Mhm.
what keeps us going is knowing that's the divine assignment. That's why we were created.
Yeah.
That's our job. So it's up to us to bring others with us to make sure that our kids and our kids' kids have a better world. Like I
Yes.
was saying, we are the ancestors of
Yes.
today.
Yes.
Come and join us because I want my grandchildren and great grandchildren to live in a different world.
Wow. Well, I
Yeah.
think that's wonderful. I think we'll stop there. I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to thank our audience. I won't name them all. I think we just had Jalen and Bailey and Teresa and Justin and quite a few people on this call today. So I
Okay.
thank you, audience, for joining us. If you have a question, you might pop it in the chat right quick while I have Tammy think about one last response because I'm about 2 minutes over what I promised her. But when you're talking, I think is great.
Yeah.
The last question I'm going to ask you is to really leave our audience that we do this each week with
Mhm.
a moment, what I call the career master moment.
Mm.
What would you leave them in terms of an advice for women that are mastering their careers? What would you offer them that you would probably have maybe even told your younger self or even future self of what they can do to master their careers?
Yes. First of all, give yourself grace.
Oh,
You won't know the answer at each stage of your life. Like I said, I'm 56. I'm still evolving. I'm still shocked sometimes that God allows me to do the things that I do. But that's the advice. Give yourself grace,
love
keep
it.
an open mind, and be open to do different things because you never know where it may lead.
Well,
Yeah.
your users are saying, go Tammy, go Tammy. So I love it. Thank you, Tammy Martin. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for helping the next generation of youth. I have a passion and affinity for that with my nonprofit. And I just know that, like you, we do realize when it's purposeful
Yes.
and your steps are ordered, you don't have to question about how you're
That's
going
right.
to do it. What you have to do is be obedient and walk in that grace. So
That's
I
right.
want to thank you for that. And I want you to have a fabulous week. When you all get ready for that next international trip, let me know. I might get in one of y'all suitcases so I can go to that.
All right, Dr. Wicker.
It might be what I do, in order to
Right.
catch a ride. But congratulations on being a Career Master 2025 on Diversity Impact 50 honoree. You well deserved. And
Thank
I will
you.
talk with you later. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye
All
now.
right. Thank you. Bye.
Wow, wasn't that fabulous? I got to tell you, I know for a fact that at this moment in time, it is very important for us to stop, step back, take a reflective look at what we can do to ensure that our young people have continued access to educational means. And YBLA is one of those organizations. So thank you very, very much for allowing us to have the conversation with you today, Tammy. It was excellent. And we're going to replay this and you can catch this show on LinkedIn Live, replay, YouTube, and or Facebook as you please. Tell your friends and those that may have college graduates or even students that would be young and on the rise to understand what a career would look like. Again, thank you, Tammy. So I want to get back to a couple of things. Don't forget to pick up the Career Mastered spring edition of our magazine. It is available at careermaster.com in both print and digital. We will again have the beginning program of our Brunch with the Master's signature event where we bring women together to talk about leadership principles and strategies and tools. It will be May the 6th, which is a Tuesday, in Charlotte, North Carolina at Myers Park Country Club. You can go at careermaster.com to get your tickets for that. We have women that will join us for that and become your table host for that event, where we will do speed networking to make sure that you have conscious, intentional connections for your leadership journey. And then we'll do the same repeat in Detroit on May the 20th at the Detroit Athletic Club, as well as women who will be table hosts there to ensure that we're doing our best at providing resources and tools for your career and growth. Next Wednesday at same time, same place, I'll be right here with you, and hopefully you'll join us again. Have a great day.